Hello, welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony, and this show is about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. It's August 21st. 21st, yes, it's a Wednesday. Today we're talking about, are you going far enough? I think that's the message today. We got this really cool quote from T.S. Eliot. Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. I think that this idea has taken many forms, during our lifetime, and one of those forms could be from that idea. Grant Cardone, probably took this and just shaped it differently and says 10x it, right? And we're talking about here going beyond what you think you can do, or going beyond what other people are doing. That goes to that other saying too, if you want extraordinary results, you've got to do extraordinary things. I think when I first started in my voiceover career, I was just so excited to do something like this that I was obsessed. I think that's the right word to use in auditioning and getting work. It was a validation of what I always believed I could do. And when it was finally when it started happening, I was being hired, it fueled that obsession to do more and more. And the idea that I got to, how could I go further than I thought I could go? How could I go further than someone else, or other people? I always remember thinking to myself at about 2 or 3 in the morning that I was going to make it because I didn't think anybody else was doing what I was doing. Now, of course, that's not true, but in my mind, I thought I'm working harder than most other people, and that's going to pay off, right? Because I'm doing what a lot of other people won't do. And I want you to think about the same thing, whether it comes to auditioning, whether it comes to your training, whether it comes to the work you're putting in. So don't ever forget, to get, right? You've got to give. And to get more, you've got to give something of value. And you've got to do it better than others, right? I mean, it's the law of economics. It's a law of nature. And, by giving a service, rendering a valuable service like we do, and doing it well and working harder than others, okay, you're going to get in return some form of wealth, remuneration, right? So I think it's important to remember that you have to go beyond what is just enough if you want more than just enough. And I know it makes a lot of sense. And this isn't a video about application, but it's more about the mental part, because it's interesting. The longer I do this, the more voice actors I work with, and the more I attempt to do, the more I realize how much it's a mental battle as opposed to a battle of tactics, because the mental part is what drives us or what stops us, what pushes us or holds us back. The tactics, the day in and day out actions that we have to take, those are very binary, right? You either take an action or you don't take an action. But the mental aspect of this is what controls all of that for us. So I just, I think that you can ask yourself today, am I doing everything I can? Most of us, including myself, will be no, of course we're not doing everything we can. We could do more. And I think that's a challenge that we have to put ourselves through. You know what I mean? Are we pushing ourselves far enough? Have you ever felt that way, that you go through life and you don't you do just enough to get by. Have you ever felt that in periods of your life? That you're doing just enough to get by, but you could do a lot more. And you reserve almost that moment when you're going to decide to do a lot more. And sometimes you reserve it out of doubt, like we talked about yesterday, and fear that if we do give everything we have and we fail, where does that leave us? It's a scary thought. But the interesting thing is again, that's doubt putting up a wall and masquerading it as protecting us from pain. But we know that we've got to break through that wall in order to reach the other side. So it's all mind tricks. It's all about our mind. Yes, are there outside forces applying their will? Of course. There is, the economy. There is, your own particular situation. There's our health. There's all, there's our there's all sorts of different outside forces. But in the end, those outside forces are going to be there. Our force is what we control, that mental capacity, and whether or not we are pushing ourselves to go far enough. That's where you have to draw the line. That's where your decision comes into play and decides your path and your future. Can you make that decision and be consistent and persistent? I think being persistent is what really separates a lot of people. Okay, especially giving up too soon, not, or someone burns out. They give a lot and they just burned out. The persistence wanes, and they fade away. So anyways, this was a very philosophical video today, but I think that, it's an important one, very important one. We've been talking about it more recently, and your mind, your drive, that plays the role of your whole entire future, right? That's what matters. And you should, again, ask yourself the question, am I doing everything I can do? And maybe not going so far as to say, well, I'm going to change my whole life. That's another thing. As I get older, I realize when I was younger, I would always say, well, I can do this as long as I just change everything that I am. I don't know if you remember that, or you might still do that too. Like I'm gonna wake up now 4 hours earlier. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And not to say that we can't do that. Of course, I'm not trying to be defeatist, but there's also that saying, know thyself. And I think that's very important. But I'm saying that knowing yourself. Take one single step forward, right? To that point, let's go one step farther. Let's go another step farther, right? Let's take a step past where you think you can go. And just one step to start. You climb a mountain one step at a time. And put that in your mind and let that be your guiding force, your guiding thought. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you stayed with me and that made sense. As always, make sure that, you keep your head up, keep moving forward, keep that drive, right? And take that one step further ahead. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Talk to you later. Happy Wednesday. Bye-bye.